Yeah, I don't know why. It seems like we're like as close as humanly possible, and it's still, you know.
Hugs for Ted, we're close. Welcome to Beacon of Speech. I'm Fred Hunt. That's Ted Coley. Welcome to Beacon of Speech, Ted Coley.
Is that going on?
Oh, nope, it's still on. Welcome to Beacon of Speech, Ted Coley. What is Beacon of Speech? We sell freedom of speech to everybody, except for, who aren't we selling freedom of speech to today? Is there anybody that we're omitting?
I don't know.
I think, now we've talked about who's getting freedom of speech and who's not many, many times. I think CNN is going to be put in the freedom of speech penalty box today, but we'll talk about that later.
Jim Acosta.
Should I ask who Jim Acosta is?
He's a reporter at CNN.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Now, Ted is gracious enough to host us a Beacon of Speech at his house. Right up here, we pointed this out at other Beacon of Speeches. There's the Beatles. There's Chief Wahoo. Behind us is eventually the stuff that will be in our set. We could turn it around and show us the T-shirt, the musical instruments, the pennants. But eventually, that's going to be at our new set. The imaginary one we don't have yet.
Penance?
Penance.
The Catholic...
Oh, no, a different kind of penance. So, but because Ted is so awesome to me and hosting, today I come bearing gifts. I am bringing Ted candy cigarettes. You want to open these up? And
Thank you.
Now, candy cigarettes used to be very popular, what was it, 50 years ago. Did you used to have candy cigarettes all the time?
Not all the time, but I did get them. I know that.
And then all of a sudden they said, you cannot buy candy cigarettes because it promotes cigarette smoking.
In my case, it probably did.
So then they took candy cigarettes off the shelves almost everywhere, even though they're very obviously candy. And on the front, it says candy, candy. There's nutritional facts. So I got
I'm looking
Ted.
for them to open like regular cigarettes.
Maybe we shouldn't be giving you candy cigarettes. You'll be. We were counting. See, they're not packed in there like cigarettes, Ted. How many are there?
Oh my God! Look at them. They look like joints.
Oh no! They're promoting some other kind
they?
of cigarette. Yes, they do. They used to have red at the end. See, they don't even have red on the end anymore. But so I come bearing gifts. Candy cigarettes for Ted. Except for you're supposed to put them between your lips and not between your teeth, right?
Between your cheek and gum.
Now, I don't smoke. I've never smoked. Ted is a reformed smoker. You haven't smoked in, what?
5 years?
5 years? Does everything taste better and is the air cleaner?
No. I honestly didn't notice any difference in taste. I mean, I was always able to taste food and everything. But breathing, I don't cough as much. I still cough a little bit, but yeah. But as far as food, it's like I don't think I ever noticed the difference.
Yeah.
So.
Well, so we are promoting candy cigarettes, not real cigarettes. We have to be very specific because candy cigarettes used to have the red end, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so.
So we got candy cigarettes today. And we're pulling a prank on one of my old co-workers that Ted does not know. Wink, wink. Right? So we got the phone right behind the computer. So if the phone goes off, we might have to answer that. So we might have to sort that out. This is Beacon of Speech number 59. And let's grab the outline. Because I want to talk about serious stuff here, Ted. We're not going to have a fun episode except for the candy cigarettes, right?
Don't they look like a joint?
Yeah, they do. It should be candy joints instead of candy cigarettes.
Yeah, they probably get less flack.
Yeah. Now that they're legalizing marijuana everywhere, you know what? That's a good point. So, we have freedom of speech in America. Would you, Ted Coley, say I had a pile of money, I have $100,000. No, that's not enough. $1 million, I'm going to put it in your lap. I say you can move anywhere you want, and pretend like Beacon of Speech doesn't exist, okay?
I can move anywhere I want.
Anywhere you want, would you move out of the country? Would you move to France, Britain, or would you just...
I would move to North Ridgeville.
That is where I live. if you had $1 million, you have no interest in moving anywhere else in the world besides America, correct?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I'd probably stay here.
Now, if I had $1 million, it would be a 50-50 chance I'd move to, I'd stay in America, or I love Canada, okay? But I don't think I would move to Canada. America or Canada. So whatever the percentage is, 60-40, 70-30, 99-1, those are the only two countries I would ever live in.
Yeah.
Right? The reason I bring this up is yesterday's headlines. It was in the Daily Mail. It was very upsetting. Okay? Now, you know the G20 is going on, and they're riding in Germany, right?
Yeah.
And there's all the world leaders. And now,
I've heard that, and I agree with this, they think that rioting is probably like a rent-a-mob.
Oh, yeah, it's all rent-a-mob. It's all rent-a-mob. And you can't even deny that. The anarchists, the anti-globalists, they all get together whenever there's a G20 or one of these big things. Let's have a party and let's burn down the city they have in it. And then that way they won't want to get together. And so, yeah, those are not the people of Hamburg. If you say they got 10,000 protesters, maybe 50 of them are from Hamburg, because they're like, oh, look, we got rioting in our backyard. So they got some local rioters, but it's mostly rent-a-mobs.
So very few are hamburgers? Or...
Yeah, yes, very few are hamburgers, Ty. So anyhow, so of all the countries who are there, I still love America, and this is why we talk about freedom of speech in America all the time. Other countries do not have freedom of speech. They just don't. Okay, now some of them do to a lesser, and some, there's even more free speech. Say you're in Sweden, you can say whatever you want. I think it was Norway. We were talking about that band that burned down the churches, and
did you eat your cigarette?
No, it's still over here. I'm gonna eat it later though, because they crunch. I don't want to crunch on air in the first 5 minutes so people take it off. But one of the best places in the world to live is America, right? Now, you don't disagree with me, and I don't disagree with me.
I mean, a lot of other places I would be afraid to live.
I 100%. I am afraid to live there, and I'm afraid to even go to Mexico. Okay?
Because you feel like if you spit on the sidewalk, you'll get thrown in jail for like 20 years.
Right. Or let's say you had $1 million. And you would be rich in Belize. Would you move to Belize? They'd be like, no way. They'd be like, oh, there's that rich American a-hole. We're going to burn down his house or, kidnap him like in one of those horror movies. And the point of my story is, I don't think America is that bad, right? So, this was the headline on the Daily Mail. America has a distorted vision of the world. Okay, who said that at the G20? America has a distorted vision of the world.
Now that's this G20?
This G20 yesterday. This famous world leader said America has a distorted vision of the world.
Is it Angela Merkel?
No, the Pope.
Oh,
the Pope came out. Yes, the Pope came out. He said there are dangerous things happening in America. Libertarianism. He said that libertarianism is spreading. Individuality is spreading. Donald Trump as a leader shows that populism is bubbling up in America. What is going to happen to the poor and the immigrants? Okay, he is very worried about the immigrant. I got my thumb in the wrong place. He's very worried about the poor and the immigrants. Okay, now, the Pope is 100% right. Excuse me. About the poor. Do we give a crap about the poor in America?
For the most part, no.
And I would agree. For the most part, no. Now, immigrants is 110% another story. He says the poor people of Syria, they're immigrating out and people are prejudiced against them. Okay? The problem is that when you bring in immigrants from the Middle East, they don't want to integrate. Okay? Now, I'm not saying they have to change religion. I'm saying you can't, shoot up the streets of Paris, or you can't shoot up the streets of London, you can't shoot up the streets of Brussels. Well, they still haven't got that message They're still doing, what is it called, the caliphate?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to defend Trump on the travel ban. Okay? Immigration should be allowed. We should allow immigrants into the country. But if you have enemy combatants, okay, you don't know who the enemy combatants are because there is no, let's say, Algerian army. There is no Pakistani army. They're all lone wolves.
Yeah.
So if you have a declared caliphate, what you're doing is limiting immigration from those countries. Now, I don't agree with Trump the way he did it, but it's semantics. If you have a country that is run by Islam and they say we have a caliphate against I mispronounce it, against America, I understand why you would restrict immigrants from that country.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, does that make sense to you?
Yeah. Yeah, it does. It makes a lot of sense.
So, the Pope says, now, and again, if we want to take in immigrants, let's say from other countries, say from, what's a country in South America that's a mess? Peru, right? Is it Peru or Venezuela?
Oh, Venezuela.
Venezuela.
Yeah.
You know, Venezuela's a mess. Okay, well, we're going to take all the immigrants from Venezuela you want. They said South Africa is on the brink of civil war.
South Africa.
South Africa, yeah. Do you want immigrants from South Africa? Sure, we'll take them. People from Russia, you know, Putin's persecuting them. Okay, we'll take Russian immigrants. Just don't take immigrants from countries who have declared a caliphate against America.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that simple. Well, the Pope is angry. And he says, no, you cannot discriminate against immigrants. All immigrants are poor people. Well, that's not the way it is, because you're in your little palace in the Vatican and you don't really deal with normal people. Now, I'm not calling out the Pope because I do not want a
holy war.
A holy war. I don't want the express ticket to hell. Okay? But I would say that when he says we can do better with immigrants, I would say if we take immigrants, there's 200 countries, right? If we take immigrants from 185 countries, I think we're doing all right. Okay? And that's why I am going to stick up for Donald Trump. But sticking up for Donald Trump makes me itch. It makes me twinge and it makes me twerk around. Okay?
The thing is that doesn't he understand that these countries, well, some of the people in these countries have declared a caliphate and they want worldwide domination.
Right.
You know.
No, he doesn't.
And doesn't he understand that it would be a great avenue for them to come in and, you know, as a disguise say, oh, I'm just an immigrant.
Right. No, he doesn't. Because the immigrants are poor and they want to escape the civil wars, which I'm not arguing. Okay? But, and I remember this plain as day, and I think we talked about this like on Beacon of Speech 15. This has literally been going on for years. It was a mass immigration of people from Syria, and they couldn't find a country, and they took a picture of them. And I expected to see women, you know, poor women, drawn faces, kids on their back. It was 90% men of fighting age.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where are the women and the children? And they're like, oh, they left them in the Civil War country. Well, that's not the way it works. When you have a civil war, the men stay behind, and you send the women and children out to safety.
Women and children last.
You don't, not women and children last. I mean, Ted, every movie you've ever seen and the decor of American civilization, as far as I can remember, women and children first, right? Not 30-year-old men first. Holy cow, there's a civil war. Get the men out. Make sure the 30-year-old men are safe. And that's why and I'm not saying the Pope is wrong. I'm saying that
you're afraid of the Pope.
I am afraid. Ted, I am 100% afraid of the Pope, okay? But what I'm saying is that he needs to like clean up his message, maybe tighten it up, okay? And he's like, oh no, they're poor immigrants. No, they're really not.
So you're saying the Pope's message is sloppy?
So, that is exactly right. The Pope has a sloppy message, but it keeps going, okay? The Pope warns against Trump's dangerous alliance with Russia. Okay? Now, the Pope is afraid that America and Russia will get along. Aren't we all supposed to get... I mean, usually isn't the message by the Pope, we should all get along. So basically what he's saying is he thinks that Putin and Trump are in cahoots to discriminate against the poor and the immigrants. Now, I understand, again, what the Pope is saying. Okay? But the message is sloppy because I would fathom a guess that the poor in America are in better shape than the poor in Siberia. Would you say that's probably true?
Yeah.
And like the poor in Siberia, they're still not getting free cell phones. They're not getting.
They don't have Obama phones.
They don't have Obama phones. They don't have cell phone towers. They don't have. I'm thinking of Dish, but there's not even Dish anymore. They don't have cable. You know, whatever you're talking about, there's a big difference between American poor and Russian poor. And so
when you say there's not even Dish anymore, what do you mean?
Well, they said Dish is the subscriptions of Dish and cable are both going down.
What, in this country?
Yeah, because everybody's starting to stream.
Wow.
But there is still cable, and there's still, don't get me wrong, still Dish. I'm just saying their numbers are shrinking.
Wow.
Ted,
and this is coming on pretty fast. Right?
Yeah, but Ted, it's the American way. The problem is Dish, and I love Dish. I wish I still had Dish, to be honest with you. But it was cheaper to stream. Stream what we want, right? The problem with Dish and the problem with cable companies is they're like, we're losing customers. So what do you do when you lose customers?
You raise your prices.
You raise your prices. So then people get pissed off and then they leave and then they're like, holy cow, we got to raise money.
We got to raise them even more.
Yeah, just like do you know a plain dealer?
Pretty soon there'll be one guy still getting cable and he'll be paying $1,000 a month.
Well, and that's the whole thing. Just like newspapers, just like Iron Mountain. You know what I mean? Well, we're losing stuff, so we're gonna keep raising the prices. Well, instead of having an alternative plan, like we're gonna keep our prices low so we don't lose any more, and then we're gonna do alternative streams. And when I say streams, I mean like streams of revenue. They're like, no, we're just gonna charge our customers more. Well, eventually you lose your customers. But the point of my story is that the Pope says that Putin says no immigrants and screw the poor. Okay? Well, that's not what Trump is saying. Trump is putting a travel ban on countries with the caliphate. And that's why I don't understand why the Pope doesn't understand. And again, if you want, say, we will take all the women and children you want, even from countries under a caliphate. Say Afghanistan, like we didn't let the girls' engineering team in this year, or this week. Say, okay, all women are allowed to be immigrants, okay? And I don't have a problem with that either. But that picture sticks with me, like I can't unsee it, like it's tattooed in my brain. And that's what gets me all fired up about it, because I'm like, I understand you're the Pope, but like when you're the Pope and you pray about things, do you like read the paper? Do you talk about to other world leaders? Do you like make informed decisions when you're making proclamations? Now, I'm not calling the Pope stupid, because he's probably, right now...
I'll get you a Fred Hunt.
Yeah, it's a Fred Hunt. I will get you. He is probably right...
stupid.
Fred Hunt, hell, level 7. You know? But that's why I'm like, he needs to tighten up his message. Now, they said... he did an interview with an Italian newspaper, so some of it might be lost in translation. Some of it might be like, well, the Pope means the gist of it. Okay? But it upset me because I hate the question the Pope. Because you know what that gets you? It gets you straight to hell. Right? You see, Ted doesn't believe in that. He does. Ted's going to heaven anyhow. He's good. He's not bad like me.
Well, I mean, the Pope is not, he's not God.
Yeah, but he's the closest thing to God on earth.
Well, I mean, says who?
Says... now...
Self-proclaimed.
Since St. Peter, there's been a direct line of popes in St. Peter. Except for the 1400s where there's a lot of broken lines. Okay? But he's supposed to be the emissary between God and man. So, Ted, you're going right to hell. You're messing up our thing today.
Well, no, I mean, I just don't know why you can't disagree with him.
Because you go to hell.
Well, that means then he can say anything he wants.
That's some good power. You know, when I was younger, before I was old, I used to say it'd be awesome.
So in a way, the Pope, whether he realizes it or not, is taking away our free speech.
Ted, you're right. That's why we're saying in America we're not moving to Europe. We're not letting the Pope take away our free speech. We're gonna go right to hell in a handbasket. I'm gonna take a hit off of my candy cigarette. Oh crap! I bit down on it. These are good.
Yeah, they are.
Did you bite into it?
Oh yeah.
So we're promoting candy cigarette use, not marijuana or cigarette use. I only had 2 things on my outline. I could tell you're getting pissed off about the Pope because, listen, Beacon of Speech, one day in my fantasies will be a real show. It's me and Ted. We'll have guests. The only person we really asked on who denies us all the time is Donald Trump. Right?
Yeah. Well,
Maybe one day we could invite the Pope to be on. We could do a conference call. We could Skype with the Pope. And he could be more clear. We could get an Italian translator. And we could say, Dear Pope Francis, why are you against free speech in America? Mm-hmm. We could be like gotcha journalists, right? And then he could be like, I am not saying that, young men. You are probably speaking for the devil. You know? And that's where we'll go from there.
No, I don't have anything against the Pope. I'm saying I just disagree with him on some things.
Yeah.
So
I never 100% disagree with the Pope for anything. I just question broad brushes. You know, but the Pope would say, Jesus said that all men are, and I mean like,
well, I don't have any problem with that, but it's like he seems to gloss over the fact that we have to try to protect ourselves too.
Yeah. No, you don't. Jesus will protect you. Jesus is going to put a little ball around you.
Well, what about all the people who've gotten their heads cut off and, you know.
That's Ted! Ted is talking, not me! I'm going to switch subjects because you're going to get me in trouble.
No, okay. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. I agree. I agree. Some things, when I was young, I used to have all these thoughts. What about this? What about that? What about that? And they'd be like, oh, no, you shouldn't be having those thoughts. I'm like, but I am having those thoughts. And they're like, well, you shouldn't have them. It's like, well, am I supposed to punch the thoughts out of myself?
Well, when you say they, who do you mean?
You know, like at PSR, church, and stuff like that. Okay, I want to talk about another story because it has to do with how old me and you are. I've been called by my kids around July 4th, I don't know, 6 times. They keep calling me old, okay? I am 47 years old. You are?
I'm 49.
You are 49. I'll be 48 next month. Okay? Now, this topic is specifically for you and me, not for most people. Okay? Now, I still coach my son's soccer team, and every time I kick a ball, I'm afraid my knee is going to pop out. Not because it hurts, just because I hear horror stories. Okay?
Yeah, I know. I'm getting more concerned about stuff like that.
For my age, I am fairly healthy. The problems I have to do with breathing and throat problems, but not with, you know, back, elbow, legs. Right? I've been very lucky in my life with that.
So the only problems you have are life-threatening ones.
Yeah. Or nervous system, throat, whatever. So my limbs seem to work good. And for the most part, Ted, you are healthy. When you played softball, whatever, a couple of years ago, you know, you had a little tweak in, was it your knee or your ankle?
I think it was my ankle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you are in good health. You know, you don't walk with a limp. You walk probably a couple miles a day for your job. Right?
Yeah, I often wonder how much I do walk.
You know? I have a Fitbit. Well, maybe we'll make Ted do it. So we'll see how many steps we got. Today we have almost no steps. I have done almost no exercise today. Okay. The point of my whole story is I was reading an article. I think it was USA Today because I had to cut and paste it and run out the door. There was an article, and the headline was, "It's hard not to root for a successful Todd Marinovich turnaround. Do you know who Todd Marinovich is? He is a football player. I'll give you that.
Todd Marinovich.
Right.
I probably should know who that is, but I don't.
Well, let me read it straight right here. The former USC and LA Raiders quarterback prodigy, whose football career and life has famously been derailed by substance abuse on multiple occasions, was in Indian Wells on Friday for a news conference to announce that he is returning to competitive football. The former NFL and college star, who just turned 48 this week, okay, so literally same age as me and you, right, has joined the Desert Developmental Football Team, the SoCal Coyotes, after serving as an assistant coach this last season. He will be in uniform and in the huddle at blah, blah, blah for their first practice. On August 22nd, 2016, Marinovich was tackled by his addiction again. He was arrested in Irvine and was found naked, wandering around someone's backyard. And again, not when he was 20, when he was 46, okay? So when he was 46, he was found naked, wandering around someone's backyard with marijuana and a paper bag with meth and syringes in it. He was cited...
Did he have any candy cigarettes?
No, he did not have candy cigarettes. So I read this article, and I am... Ted, you're never going to meet anybody bigger than Follow Your Dream than me. Beacon of Speech is my dream. I drag Ted along. He's like a kid. I have to bribe him with candy to make him do it. But I want Beacon of Speech to be successful, right? And my dream is for Beacon of Speech to be successful. Now, the only thing that was keeping me down earlier was my own anxiety or logistical problems, right? And we don't have to get
as far as what, pursuing your dream?
Yeah, for pursuing my dream. Like, I don't have time to pursue my dream because I'm working. You know what I mean? And it's hard to pursue your dream because you're working. You have a job, I have a job. My job's easier than yours now. But Todd Marinovich, now, do you remember, now when I'm reading it, do you remember what happened to Todd Marinovich?
No, I don't. Like I said, I vaguely remember that name, but I don't know. I really don't know his story.
Now, I'm doing it from my mind, so a little bit might be
You said
off.
he's 48.
Yes.
So I assume he came into the league, about 26 years ago?
Yes.
Wow.
Todd Marinovich, his dad played football, right? And when he was a teenager, he told his son, "You're going to go to the NFL. I am going to train you to get to the NFL." And he was one of those dads that pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed. And if you want to be an NFL quarterback, you got to drink raw eggs and you got to do 200 push-ups. I am going to make the father bragged about how he was going to make the prototypical football player, right? His son was the experiment. Now, his son went to college at USC. By the time he got to USC, he hated football. I remember reading articles. Todd Marinovich hates football, but he is basically he's David. He's a physical specimen, right? They said his body fat, his mechanics, his dad taught him everything he knew. And by the time he got to USC, that's not what he wanted to do with his life. He didn't want to play football. So he was doing drugs and alcohol every chance he got because his dad was beating him into the ground, right? He went to the Raiders, and he washed out of the league because he didn't love football. His dad made him a football machine, right? And I think he was out of the league by 28, maybe 30 because of drugs and alcohol. And whenever you say the name Steve Marinovich, or I'm probably mispronouncing it, Todd Marinovich, I said Steve Marinovich, Todd Marinovich. Whenever you say his name, I think of Steve Howe. You remember him?
Yeah, I do remember him. He was the pitcher.
He was the pitcher who was suspended.
Dodgers, right?
Yep, suspended from the Dodgers. He was suspended 7 times, and he eventually died of a cocaine overdose about 47, 48 years old.
Oh, he did die?
Yeah, he did die. And so whenever I think of Marinovich, I think of somebody, So when they say the article, I'm going to go back to the article headline, right? It's hard not to root for a successful Marinovich turnaround. It's too late. When you were young, you chose drugs and alcohol, right? Now, you could say, oh, well, Fred, you chose not to follow your... No, I chose anxiety disorder, okay? I did not choose drugs and alcohol, okay? So, Todd Marinovich, when he comes back at 48, is not a great story, okay? They're like, well, what else is he going to do? It says he has a job as a coach. Why in the hell would you come back? And so this is my question.
So he's trying to come back as a player?
Yeah, he's trying to come back as a player in a semi-pro league. Basically the equivalent of the Cleveland Gladiators.
So it almost reminds me of that movie, The Natural.
Yeah. And so that's my thing. And the reason I'm beating a horse on it is because you are 48. I'm sorry, you're 49. Todd Marinovich is 48. Would you ever follow your dream that has to do with your body, like baseball, football, anything like that? Like, I still want to be a baseball player. Let's say that was your dream. When you were a kid, what did you want to do?
I wanted to be a football player.
Okay, you want to be a football player.
Yeah.
Now, you're 49. Do you think you want to try and make a comeback with the Cleveland Gladiators?
Yeah, I think I'm going. I think now is the right time.
Now is the right time. You can dye your beard, right? So you understand what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
And again, most people, I'd be like, follow your dream, follow your dream. Not him. He followed his dream of doing drugs for 20 years. And again, I'm not even talking, like, again, people make mistakes. He got caught with drugs at 46, Ted.
Well, the thing is, was that ever his dream?
No.
So in other words, at 48, he's trying to still follow his dad's dream.
Right. Now, he might say, oh, well, I never appreciated everything because I was doing drugs and alcohol. Well, then your dream was doing drugs and alcohol.
Mm-hmm. So he has been following his dream.
Yeah, your whole life you've been following your dream, doing all the drugs you can. And again, I said it before, and we're not going to name names, so don't name names. But we were talking about people who just are alcoholics before we started, right? Ted knows who I'm talking about. And they're in their late 50s, and they don't slow down, right? And it's like, well, you have grandchildren, and your grandchildren are getting old. Screw it. Don't slow down now. Just keep going straight off the cliff. I mean, there's no reason to slow down now.
Like Thelma and Louise.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, oh, I better stop doing the drugs. I'm 40. No, just finish the job. You've been doing them for 30, 40 years. Because I'm telling you, most people who do drugs don't die because they did a bucket of drugs, right? Most people do a bucket of drugs and then they stop for like a year or two. And they're like, oh, how much was I doing before I quit? And that kills them. And I just read an article just this week, Chris Cornell, how they're like, oh, it was the Ativan, right? It was the Ativan that killed him. And they're like, oh, on the body they found track marks. Ativan doesn't give you track marks. So again, I'm not saying that drugs aren't bad. I'm just saying at a certain age, don't even try giving up drugs. Just keep doing them.
Yeah.
Now
a person who fits what you're saying is Willie Nelson.
Yeah.
Did he ever stop smoking?
No. As a matter of fact, he still talks about how pot keeps him even, keeps the daily frustration. I remember it was George Burns. He was like 95 years old. And they said, are you going to give up cigars? He's like, why would I give up cigars? And they said, for the kids. He's like, yeah, not too many people are looking at George Burns as a 95-year-old role model. Right? And it's the same thing. If you don't give it up by about 50, you're done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you can't stop drinking, and they're like, well, you're going to die. Well, those 40 years of hard living.
You're going to die anyway.
Yeah. It's not like there's magic time that they tack on. Oh, will you stop drinking at 55? Oh, you get magic hours added to the end. Well, your liver's shot already. As I drink sugar, when people will be making fun of me being... this will probably go down in the archives. And then I'll be like, I don't know how I got diabetes. And then they'll have all the pictures of me drinking Coke and lemonade. They'll be like, Fred Hunt gets what he did. You know what? Fred Hunt was a sugar addict for 40 years. That's why Beacon of Speech was never popular. He was smoking, they're going to start selling chocolate, right? And they're going to sell it in powder form. because people want to snort it. Okay?
Is this true?
Yeah, starting this week, they said they're going to sell powdered chocolate. Now, the manufacturers are saying, oh, no, we don't want people to snort it. They can add chocolate to their favorite dish. Well, do you really need chocolate added to your favorite dish in powder form? So it's very irresponsible for us on the diabetes train. Since we do have young watchers, do we have to put a disclaimer on the end? Disclaimer, do not smoke or eat sugar or drink heavy amounts of alcohol.
Do you think I'm really unfair to the Pope?
No. No, because what you say out loud, I think in my head, because 100 times I have thought, what about this, what about this, what about this? And I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to hell for thinking about that. When I was a kid, I used to think about stuff all the time. Like, well, what about this, what about that, what about, this, that, and the other? And they're like, you're going to go to hell for thinking that. Like, say you would be in Sunday school class, and you ask your friends, and they're like, oh, no, don't think that way.
No, because he says, we have to take in all these immigrants.
Right.
And it's not that simple.
No, and like I said, in the old days, 100, 200 years, the Catholic...
Well, the thing is that I guess I have thin skin when it comes to this country, because I feel like a lot of people attack this country.
Right.
And we've done more good than probably, in my opinion, any other country.
Right.
It doesn't mean we haven't made mistakes.
Oh, yeah.
But we've done a lot of good.
And I agree 100%.
And I have issues with this country, too.
Yeah.
I mean, things it does piss me off.
Yeah.
But I guess it's kind of like, I can make fun of it, but somebody in another country can't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because the example I was going to give is... now I lost my train of thought. Thanks, Ted. Now I got to light up another candy cigarette. Put on my
clear your head.
Yeah, I got to clear my mind. No, it's just...
Yeah, that's what smoking was like. It was like a break from reality. It really was. You know what I mean? It's like you would light it up and it'd be like the world would stop for 5 minutes or whatever.
But it's bad for you, Ted.
I know.
Ted, you might as well just keep smoking. I see you eyeing those candy cigarettes. You're like, I wish those were real cigarettes.
See, this is going to be the gateway to me starting smoking again. This is the gateway drug.
See, the people were right when they banned the candy cigarettes. They were all right, all the naysayers.
No, I'm going to be thinking about that constantly.
Okay, we're not talking about Todd Marinovich anymore. I wrote a couple of articles for Beacon of Speech this week. I don't think you want to talk about any of them, but we'll bring up a couple of them just in passing. The last article I wrote is Hartford. Do you know where Hartford, Connecticut is?
No, I have a rough idea.
Do you know anything about Hartford? Can you name one fact about Hartford, Connecticut?
Well, I don't know if you would call it a fact, but looking up like the climate, it seems like they have a pretty similar climate to what we have.
Yes.
Weather-wise.
That is true. Have you heard of Hartford being in the news over the July 4th holiday?
No, I don't think so.
Hartford said they are going to declare bankruptcy. Hartford, Connecticut.
Wow.
Now, you know what I know about Hartford, Connecticut? And this is what I wrote on the Beacon of Speech blog. I only know, and you can interrupt me, there's a team in the NHL called the Hartford Whalers.
So the city is going to declare bankruptcy?
Correct. Now, this is my whole take on it.
Is this because of, like I said, I haven't really heard anything about it. Is this because of pensions or?
Well, yeah, because
what I have been hearing is about what Chicago is going through.
Right. Well, here's where we're going to go. I'll start with the hockey and then we'll go to Chicago. Okay? The Hartford Whalers were in Hartford for 20 years and their greedy owner moved the team from Hartford to North Carolina. You know where there's more hockey fans, right? Hartford County is 1 million people, which should be enough people to sustain a hockey team, right?
Mm-hmm.
What happened is Hartford had, after World War II, it was one of the richest cities in New England, right? And then all the people moved out of Hartford City and they moved into the suburbs. It'd be like the equivalent of everybody leaving Cleveland and moving to Westlake Bay Village and everything, right?
So another thing about Hartford, isn't it a big insurance?
It's exactly right. And they said insurance is not making money like it used to. And I'm like, I'm reading the article and on the New York Times, and it was like 10 pages long.
Does that have anything to do with Obamacare?
That I don't know. It might have said in the article, and I just skimmed it. Because I'm like, how in the world can Hartford go bankrupt? Hartford is still one of the richest areas in the whole United States. And I don't mean the city, I mean the metroplex, right? And I'm like, well, how in the world are they declaring bankruptcy? And they said, well, it's chock full of Puerto Ricans. And I'm like, yeah, but that shouldn't matter anyhow. Every city has a different set of minorities, right? And I remember being in Minneapolis, and I'm like, there was no black people, right? But there was a lot of Hispanics, and there were a lot of what is that Vietnamese group? Oh, we have to check our phone 1 second. Oh no, that says that's a CNN alert. Let me make sure that we're not getting a.
Is it something about Jim Acosta?
Okay, no, I still haven't heard back from that other guy.
Yeah, you probably won't.
What was I talking about? Oh, Hartford. So anyhow, in Minneapolis, right, the minorities were Hispanic and Vietnamese or Hmong or whatever it was, right? So every city has their own ethnic population that is a majority, right? A lot of cities have experienced white flight, where rich whites left the city and went to the suburbs. I'm not saying anything that's revolutionary, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, in Hartford, they mostly left behind Puerto Ricans in Hartford. Well, that still doesn't explain why Hartford would file bankruptcy over a place like Cleveland, Cincinnati. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking through the article, and they're like, well, the whites moved out, and I'm like, well, it doesn't matter. You still have people, and you still have one of the richest areas. And they're like, well, they don't share taxes. We don't share taxes here either. And they don't have any pro sports teams, so where's all their money going to? And they're like, well, they have a lot of pensions in Hartford. And I'm like, yeah, but there's a lot of pensions in, like you said, Chicago. There's a lot of pensions in Philadelphia. There's a lot of pensions in Newark. So what makes Hartford different than all those other cities?
Well, like I said, Chicago is having a problem with their every dime they take in now is going to pensions.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing. So I wrote the article, and I didn't answer any questions because I'm reading an article, and none of them have any answers. They're like, well, you got to understand white flight. You got to understand the Puerto Ricans are coming in. I'm like, yes, but that's every city in America.
Mm-hmm.
You know, after Hurricane Katrina, the poor people in New Orleans, they didn't want to leave. They flooded Houston. You know, and I don't think Houston declared bankruptcy. How in the world is a city in Connecticut worse off than cities across other cities in the United States? And it said all the cities had declared bankruptcy, and there was like 8 of them. Now, me and you, we live close to Detroit. We know why Detroit declared bankruptcy. It's like Kabul out there, okay? But I'm doing this article, and the point of my article was there is no point. I'm throwing out all these theories and all these ideas, and I'm like, well, it's not like they're spending 50 or 100 million on a sports franchise. You know what I mean? It's not like their money's going over here or over there. Or you don't hear about the Hartford crime problem like you hear about the Chicago crime problem, which is literally, or the New Orleans crime problem. And the New York Times, like I said, it was a great article, but I'm like, it doesn't answer why Hartford's different than other countries in America. It just says the problems with running an urban center. So, have I intrigued you to read my article?
Yeah, you kind of have. And like I said, I'm just making like an educated guess, but I'm starting to think that this is going to become.
I think you're right.
This is like the canary in the coal mine or whatever?
I think this is the canary in the coal mine where, well, if Hartford declares, we're going to declare.
Yeah, it's going to be like a chain.
Like a domino.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the things I wanted to bounce off of you because I wrote the article. I'm like, well, maybe, like you said, the canary in the coal mine is a perfect example. Maybe they're like, and...
Because I think, and like I said, I could be totally wrong about this because I'm just making like an educated guess.
Uh-huh.
I think they gave these big pensions to people, and people started living so long,
Oh, yeah.
and I don't think they have the money to cover that.
Nope.
Because some of these pensions are huge.
Right.
You know, you hear about people getting pensions where they're $90,000 a year or whatever. It's like, where's that money coming from?
Yeah.
You know,
The taxpayer!
And if somebody lives to be 85, 90 years old, which a lot of people do now,
Yeah.
and they retire when they're 55,
Right.
it's like you're paying them for 30, 35 years.
Yeah. The reason I bring this up, and we're going to shift gears, but this is going to be a good transition, okay? The Hartford thing. Before I told you about Hartford, Connecticut, did you hear anything about it?
I don't think I heard anything about Hartford.
Okay? This is what I've been, for about a month now, I've been pissed off about this, okay? When I was a kid, when I was a teenager, I always used to watch CNN. Okay, I just did. I thought it was great. I thought CNN was the greatest channel ever. Okay, and I'm not ashamed to say I watch CNN all the time. Okay, I listen to talk radio, watch the news, read the newspapers. Everything makes me mad nowadays because they don't want to report real news. I think the Hartford story is one of the most intriguing stories I've heard about this week. Not the most intriguing, but one of the most intriguing because I think it shows what's going on in this country. I read about it on the Drudge Report, and it linked me to a different site that the Hartford story was on. Again, I know the article was on the New York Times, but I can't remember if that was the first or second link I checked out on it. I don't remember it being on CNN at all. Okay? Now, why does that matter, Ted?
I don't know.
Because I think that's real news, is what the hell's going on in Hartford. Every headline I have read this week on CNN is Trump.
Yeah.
Okay, Trump breathes. Trump's wife dissed.
Yeah, because they don't report news anymore. They just push an agenda.
Right. And me and you have talked about this, and last week, so I wrote another article. You saw about how they were going to out the guy who, CNN, basically what happened is there was a wrestling video. Did you see the wrestling video?
With Trump?
Yeah, with Trump.
Yeah.
Where Donald Trump hits the CNN reporter, right? And it wasn't really a CNN reporter. It was the CNN box over an old wrestling video, right? On that day, I wrote an article, okay? There was a shooting in Arkansas. Do you know about the shooting in Arkansas?
I think I did hear something about that.
Okay. There was a shooting in Arkansas in a club in the middle of the night.
Oh, wasn't it like a rapper or something?
Well, that's where we're going. Okay? It's in the middle of the night. I'm like, holy cow, Arkansas terrorism. Right? And so this is what the other article's about. So in the morning, I wake up, and what's the headline? Is it Arkansas terrorism?
No.
No. Trump retweets wrestling video. Okay, that was the headline. And so I wrote an article on Beacon of Speech. What happened in Arkansas? So I had to go to different sites, and there was a small news story on CNN that said, oh, by the way, shooting in Arkansas. And they had the police chief, and the police chief said, yeah, there was a shooting, and 30 people were either shot or trampled on. That's a lot of people. And they said, there is no active shooter. Oh, well, thank goodness. So they arrested him, right? No. No, they didn't arrest the shooter. They don't know who the shooter is. They said the shooter is still at large. The next day, they're not worried. Why are they not worried, Ted? And this is what really pissed me off for the Beacon of Speech. Why are they not worried?
The authorities in Arkansas?
Yeah, why were they not worried?
I don't know.
It appears to be a gang shooting.
Oh, okay.
So, that was 11 o'clock in the morning. Headline, Trump, small print,
So
shooting in Arkansas.
It's like nothing to see here.
Yeah, nothing to see here. 12 hours later, okay, 11 o'clock at night on CNN, so I go back, CNN, right? Well, what happened in Arkansas? It says, I'm sorry. It said nothing on CNN. There was nothing on the whole front page, nothing about Arkansas shooting, even though it was less than 24 hours later. 30 people were shot, some of them trampled. Nobody died, thankfully. There's no news on CNN. Story 1, free speech under attack by Trump, which is not what was happening, right? They retweeted a funny video. Second story, the press under attack in America. Third story, it's not funny, Trump. And the first 6 stories were all about the tweet. If anything, CNN is trying to take away Trump's speech to be funny. Okay, and again, defending, I'm so exasperated at this point. Defending Trump just aggravates me to no hell. To all hell, okay? I hate defending him. Okay, I just do. I didn't vote for him. I don't like him. I know you like him. But CNN is treating Trump like he is out killing women and children. And he's just not. And real people are getting shot and killed, and CNN's like, oh, well, that's not really a story. And so when Trump attacks CNN, he is attacking their agenda. He is not, and this is why I said in the article, Trump is a bully, okay? And CNN is a bully. And basically what you're doing is 2 bullies are beating on each other, and they're saying, he's a bully! And the other one's saying, no, he's a bully! No, they're both a-hole bullies. Now, Ted disagrees with the Trump part. He doesn't think Trump's a bully. But that's how I see it.
It's like CNN. They're just obsessed with Trump.
They are obsessed with Trump. And so back to the story about Hartford, I thought that would have been one of the top stories of the day.
I mean, CNN is almost like they're almost like a girl who breaks up with a guy and then the guy stalks her.
Yeah.
It's like CNN is like a stalker for Trump.
It's like almost like a tabloid. And that's why I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, get over there. And don't get me wrong, he's the president. You can have a story here, you can have a story there. Every day, Trump, 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 Trump. It's like, you are doing it for ratings, but your ratings are going down. If you would just report the news, CNN, a lifetime ago when I was a kid, they used to report news. And don't get me wrong, the Trump thing is news, but it's small news. And it's not like they're making it up. Donald Trump really did retweet, a picture. But it's not the end of the world. It wasn't the #1 story of the day. And that's what the article I was writing about. CNN needs to stay in their lane. And Donald Trump, when he says CNN does fake news, it means they're making up news. They're not fake news. They're just agenda-driven news. Because Fox, everybody knows Fox leans to the right. And everybody knows, well, CNN used to be in the middle, but they lean to the left. They've been leaning to the left for a while. They just need to admit what they are. They're, at this point, they're a left-wing, almost a gossip column. Did you see what Donald Trump tweeted today? Did you see what his wife, did you see that Ivanka sat in Donald's chair at the G12 or G20? It's like, no, real news. I want to know what's going on in Hartford. I want to know what's going on in Arkansas. And they're like, well, people don't click on those stories. Well, you are a news business. And it's the same analogy that we were just talking about literally a few minutes ago. Well, less people are watching CNN. Well, we got to talk about Trump more. We got to talk about Trump more. You keep jacking up the rates on the cable and the dish, and then more people leave, and then you're like, oh, we're going to make the customers pay more money. CNN is now like, it's on a loop. They're like, Trump, 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 Trump. And again, when I saw that story about Arkansas, it was literally
CNN, when you did this, I thought of like water going down the drain. Well, it's like CNN is like, it spins faster.
I keep reading on the Blaze, because I just don't go to one site.
So we're probably going to get sued by CNN.
CNN needs the money. We're going to sue those guys for... See, we're promoting all kinds of stuff. If you look closely, we'll interrupt real quick. I'm wearing a hat that promotes UPS and... Oh, jeez, my hair is a mess. My hair is a mess. The Sydney Olympics for 2000. It was a corporate sponsorship between the UPS and Sydney in 2000. So this hat is 17 years old. Boy, I feel old now. This hat is older than both of my kids.
No, you wash that hat sometimes, right?
No, I hate washing hats. But it shrank, so somebody
have you ever
washed
that
it.
hat?
No, but somebody did wash this hat at one point because it used to be dirtier. But what happens is
it's
when
not
you wash,
as dirty now.
yeah. So when you wash the hat, it shrinks. It almost looks like a beanie, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I hate it once it's washed so I don't wear this one as often because it feels like a beanie and I don't wear them anymore. But I think that's what my wife does. She's like, oh, that'll teach them, and then it shrinks and then I throw them out. Because once you wash your hat for 5 or 10 years, I think you're supposed to get rid of them.
But you are supposed to wash it.
Oh yeah, you're supposed to, but I don't. I don't wash any of my hats. So Ted is offended. Ted's gonna move his chair over to there. So, but the whole point of the CNN bashing is that CNN does not see their culpability in it. They don't see that they are part of the problem. If they would have one story like what's going on, lead story today is G20. Okay, riots at G20. Okay, that's fine. Second story should be what's going on in America, right? We're going to help out CNN. Okay, the second story should not be Donald Trump tweeted back at the Pope. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Now, we talk about the Pope because that's what we do at Freedom of Speech. We talk about freedom of the day, and Ted rightfully mentioned that the Pope is trying to take away our free speech in America. Our free speech to be satanic. There was another shooting. Oh, I'm sorry, I had to look at the sheet. Do you remember the shooting in D.C. where they shot the congressman?
Yeah.
And we talked about that on last Speaking of Speech too.
I heard that guy is like
he's doing really
bad.
Having
a setback, isn't he?
He's back in the hospital.
I mean, is that the latest thing that he's still doing bad?
Yeah, he's doing bad. He's back in the hospital. Again, I didn't see that on CNN though.
And what is it? An infection?
Yeah. And again, I didn't see that on CNN. I want to say I saw that on The Blaze.
Yeah, I think that's where I heard it.
And that's why I have a friend, and he runs a pirate radio station, right? And I won't name his name, but he runs a pirate radio station, and somebody said, my friend was saying that CNN has moved too far to the left, kind of what I said. And he goes, what is a good central news company that just reports the news? And I'm like, I can't think of any off the top of my head, right? Because, you know the Blaze leans right, Breitbart leans right, Fox News leans right, MSNBC, CNN, they all lean left. What is up the middle? I think the USA Today is the closest thing I could come up with to the middle.
What about the Wall Street Journal?
I don't know. That might be a good one too. I have to look. I don't read the Wall Street Journal because when I see the little ads, they're like, you get one. I think it's 5 free ads or 5 free reads a month, and then you have to pay. I think that's their business model now, so you can pay for stuff. So I'm drawing a total blank on what their business model is. And again, all these newspaper companies, they still have to get clicks. They still have to get people to read, and there's so many options. It's almost like you've got to scream in order to get people's attention. But the news that comes up to me is AP. Whenever I hear AP, I just think of straight news. But AP also doesn't have a huge platform. Like, you can purchase your news from AP, like at the Plain Dealer or at the Buffalo News or the Detroit Times or whatever.
Yeah.
Ted's looking at the air conditioner. Are you all right with that?
Yeah, no, it's just...
So I did another article. You don't want to talk about that. It was about post-metal albums. So I know you don't care about post-metal. You couldn't even name one post-metal band, Ted.
No. No, but I mentioned to you, and I don't know if you had a chance to think about it, but I wanted you to name your top 5 rock bands
I'm
Of
going to
all
do that
time?
right now. Let me write it down so I don't mess up. Okay, you ready? Top bands all time. Okay.
In Fred Hunt's opinion.
In Fred Hunt's opinion, these are my 2 favorite bands of all time. Okay.
Hopefully, I'll know some of these.
Oh,
bands.
you'll know. My 2 favorite bands of all time. The band you've never heard of, if you weren't my friend, you wouldn't have heard of them, but is Alice Donut. They're a punk band, and right now they're working on an album. And my favorite band that you have heard of is Nine Inch Nails. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I love Nine Inch Nails. They just came out with a new album. I think I bought it online. The last song I bought from them is Fields on Fire. And I like the sound of it, and I like the what they're getting at with the Fields on Fire vibe. So I still buy stuff by Nine Inch Nails. Oh crap! I'm glad you said that. Let me write this down. On my post-metal album, I wanted to put in Nine Inch Nails Ghosts 1 through 4. That people should check that out too. And I forgot. I had that thought, and it just popped in my head right now. So those are my 2 favorite bands of all time. When I was a kid, not so much now. My favorite metal band was Anthrax. I also loved Metallica. Everybody's heard of Metallica. Not everybody likes Anthrax. They're more of an acquired taste. My favorite industrial band is very easy. It's Ministry. They still put out stuff now. And so that's 1, 2, 3, 4. And probably my favorite band right now as I'm talking to you, is the post-metal band ISIS. So that's 6 bands. But I don't listen to Anthrax anymore. And I don't listen to Metallica anymore. I listen to their old stuff, but I don't listen to new Anthrax. New Anthrax, okay, they came out with a new album, I think it was called Worship Music, within the last 10 years. If you played worship music right there, if you played it on the record player and you played worship music, I would walk into your kitchen, I would take a kitchen knife, and I would stab myself in the heart. That's how bad new Anthrax is. Okay? They are horrible. Now, Metallica puts out new music. Metallica put out a new album about 10 years ago called Lulu, and it was Metallica and Lou Reed. Okay? How do you think that would sound?
Oh, wow. I don't know. I don't think I would like that.
No, nobody liked it. I don't even think Metallica liked it. If I played that on the turntable right there, you know what would happen? You would go in the kitchen, probably take the knife and stab yourself in the heart. That was horrible. Okay, because I listened to that, because I'm like, well, there's got to be some redeeming qualities to it. No, there wasn't. So, but yeah, so those are my 6 favorite bands. But like I said, Anthrax, I don't listen to anything new.
So you gave me a bonus band.
I gave you a bonus band. Now, you've heard of all those bands.
Yeah.
Except for, you've heard of Alice Donut, because I've talked about them.
Yeah.
And they're coming out with a new album, hopefully next year.
Now, I also had another question for you, and I don't know if you thought about this. Your top 5 singers of all time.
Okay, now, singers was harder, okay? But Freddie Mercury has to be in the top 5, because Freddie Mercury was awesome. When I was a kid, I used to listen to Queen. We still listen to Queen. We were listening to Queen in the car yesterday, because his vocals are timeless.
Yeah, everybody loves Queen.
And so I think he's awesome, okay? And I really liked, even though he's dead, I really liked Chris Cornell.
Yeah.
I don't know if he'd be in the top 5, though, because there was something about all the grunge singers. I really liked all of them. I really liked Eddie Vedder. I really liked Chris Cornell. I really liked Lane Staley from Alice in Chains. And I thought they were all really good singers. And when you think of a masculine, awesome band, it depends on what you're looking for. There is a band called Mars Volta, and their singer is tremendous. He's probably one of my top 5 favorite. But when I play him, he sounds like a woman. He hits really high notes for a man. And my wife says, turn that crap off. That singer is driving me crazy. So Freddie Mercury, probably the lead singer of Mars Volta, would be another. And then either one of the big grunge singers, Even though Eddie Vedder doesn't have a range, I like the grunge guys. I didn't really like Kurt Cobain. I mean, I like Nirvana, but I didn't like Kurt Cobain as a singer, per se. Let me think of who else is a great singer. But yeah, when you were talking about great lead singers, because everybody's like, oh, you got to go back to Roger Daltrey was a great. I'm like, I don't know, I wasn't a big, and Robert Plant, and I'm like, and Paul McCartney, and I'm like I like Wings and I like Led Zeppelin, but all those guys, like I never thought Paul McCartney had any range. You know what I mean? He's clever. And he has good, he's, historically great pop sensibilities, right? But when I hear Paul McCartney's voice, I don't like, oh, Paul McCartney, you know what I mean?
What about somebody like Sting?
Oh, I hate Sting. I'm gonna make an analogy, and it's very sexist, so I apologize, okay? Have you ever met a girl who's really good looking, and then you talk to her, and she likes herself so much that she's not good looking anymore?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
you know that syndrome. In the world, there's 3 or 4 men with that syndrome. So Sting is one of them. Like, he likes himself so much that it makes me like Sting less. Like, oh, I'm Sting. I'm the perfect man. I can sing, and I'm good looking, and I know I'm good looking, and I know I can sing, and I'm Sting. You know?
Like, you know who else I thought had a good voice was Daryl Hall.
Oh yeah, I like Hall & Oates, and for all the metal and industrial stuff I listen to, I still like Hall & Oates. I would say John Hall. I'm sorry, Daryl Hall. I said it backwards. Daryl Hall would be one of the top 10. I don't know about the top 5, but I love Daryl Hall.
Yeah.
Because he's got the smooth pipes.
Yeah.
You know who else was also? I know people would make fun of me, but you know who else was a really good singer? Was the guy from Living Colour.
Oh, yeah.
He was a good singer. And, top five. This, when you asked me this, I wrote this down. Okay. There's a punk singer, and I hope I have it right. He was a lead singer of a band called The Dicks, okay? And then he was in an alternative band called Sister Double Happiness. And he was in a couple of the Gary Floyd band. His name is Gary Floyd. Nobody's ever heard of him before. Okay? So, right now...
I'm thinking of another Gary.
My top 5, the guy from Mars Volta, lead singer of Mars Volta, lead singer of Queen, one of the alternative guys, one of the grunge guys, because I love the grunge gods. Okay? Probably the lead singer Alice in Chains. He'd probably be 3. But it would be like a 3-way tie. Gary Floyd, lead singer of Sister Double Happiness. He was. I never understood why that guy wasn't more popular. I don't know why people didn't love that guy. He was awesome. So Gary Floyd, I love. Now you don't have any idea who Gary Floyd is. If Gary Floyd walked through that door, now Gary Floyd was the lead singer of The Dicks. Okay, and I'm sorry, that was the name of their band. Okay, because he was a big gay punk in Texas in the 80s. And he sang his heart out. Okay? And he was awesome. Like I said, he had the voice you would kill for. That deep baritone or whatever. And I'm probably saying the wrong thing, but Gary Floyd was awesome. So I got over 7, but...
Now, what about Billy Joel?
Oh, I do not like Billy Joel. I always thought Billy Joel was kind of a scam artist. Like, he wasn't like... Sting liked himself a lot, right? And Billy Joel, he had some talent, but I never thought that Billy Joel was any more talented than like... I'm trying to make the analogy without being a total jerk. Okay, you know who Michael Stanley Band is, right? Michael Stanley was great for Cleveland, but he never made it nationally. He only made a small sound nationally, okay? And Donnie Iris, they always say Donnie Iris was the Michael Stanley of Pittsburgh, or Michael Stanley was the Donnie Iris of Pittsburgh. I always thought that Billy Joel was the equivalent of Michael Stanley. Like, he was the New York City Michael Stanley. You see what I'm saying? Like, he should have been popular in New York, but not across the United States. I'm like, he's not that great. I mean, he's really good for your area. Like, he'd be the top. And now, Billy Joel's from New York City, right?
Yeah.
So he would be the most popular regional guy, but I never thought he was popular enough to be a nationwide phenomenon. And then once he was popular nationwide, I got the impression, like, he was only using singing to pick up girls. Like, hey, you know I'm a singer? Hey, you know I'm a singer?
Well, isn't that what it's always used for?
Well, at some point, it was about the music. And I know Billy Joel was about the music. I just didn't think he was good enough to not be regional. And then once he was popular, it was about the women. But, lots of, just like Todd Marinovich. At some point, it was about football. Not for long. I remember reading that he was doing drugs when he was like 14 or 15 years old. So like I said, you were on drugs for over 30 years. Your dream was not to play football. It was to do drugs. You lived your dream. And, Billy Joel's like, I'm going to step away. I'm going to do this. And then he's like, well, you know what? I need a gold-plated Rolls Royce, and I'm back. So Billy Joel's another one where he just... Back in the day, he was fine, and now, I don't... So the three that stick out, Gary Floyd, lead singer Moses Volta, and Queen, Freddie Mercury.
Yeah, I think my brother said Freddie Mercury, too.
Freddie Mercury's awesome.
I think my brother said Freddie Mercury, not necessarily in this order. I can't remember what the order was, but he said Freddie Mercury, Elvis, Roy Orbison.
Yeah, and everybody when the Traveling Wilburys?
Yeah.
The Traveling Wilburys, they're like, it's a super group. I'm like, this is super crap, and took the tape and threw it in the garbage.
See, now I like that.
See, that's what I'm talking about. That's why I wasn't trying to antagonize you. So many people said that Traveling Wilburys was awesome. And that's why, when I go back and discover things...
now, what about Tom Petty was in there, too. Do you like Tom Petty?
Tom Petty's all right. He's not bad. I understand why Tom Petty's popular. He's not